Hello again, fellow orchid lovers. It's Danielle here again with a brief update video on how my orchids are doing. I have a few blooms that you probably have seen already, but I'm going to briefly show them to you again. And I'm going to show you where I'm expecting more blooms and some interesting things that's happening with my collection that I thought maybe some of you might be interested in seeing. I'm so thrilled because I really, as some of you may know, I've only been growing for about a year. Well, successfully growing for about a year. I've been trying to grow for years and years. But I really learned a lot this past year. And unfortunately, because of not knowing much, some of my orchids have kind of paid the price. And I really thought that I wasn't going to get many blooms this year. I had come to terms with that. And I was okay with it because, you know, I learned so much, and I figured, all right, this year is going to be a little thin on the ground as far as blooms are concerned, but next year, everything should be much better because I've learned so much. But my plants have actually not decided to hate me. And some of them look like they're going to be reblooming, and some of them look like they may be blooming for the first time. So I'm pretty psyched about that. So the current blooms that I have are all Phalaenopsis blooms. So this orchid right here, she extended her stem, her bloom spike for me. This orchid right here, I bought her in bloom almost 2 months ago. She's still in bloom. This orchid right here, again, about 2 months ago, she's still in bloom. This orchid I've had for over a year, and her spike has been continually blooming since then. So it started to die back. I did cut it to one of the nodes, and it pushed out 2 branches. So it's been really nice to have some flowers in the house during the winter. And it looks like some of my other orchids might finally be blooming. I'm not sure about my Maxillaria, so maybe anyone that does have a Maxillaria can tell me if this possibly is a bloom coming. But you see that little nub right there? I think that might be the beginning of a bloom. And the reason why I think that is because the new growths have a tendency to grow higher up, like off to the side. Like this is a new growth starting here. This is a new growth starting here, and they're kind of closer to the side, and that one's a little further down than they traditionally come from. So I'm hoping that might be a bloom. I don't know. So anyone that has a Maxillaria, if you know, could you let me know? Because that would be pretty exciting. I mean, this is a relatively young plant, so I'm not really expecting her to bloom anytime soon. So if it is, in fact, going to be a bloom, bonus. Very happy about that. My one mini phal, which I don't get along with mini phals, is actually happy. She grew this leaf in my care. She's getting another one. Her roots are happy. She's gotten green growing tips and new roots. And her spike was dying back. I cut it. And look at that. Well, you would if it would stop getting blurry. Come on. You can do this. There you go. So it looks like her flower spike is going to extend, so that's exciting. The next one, this is the orchid that my niece bought for me. So she's getting a new leaf. Her roots also are happy. She has some roots extending down there in the water. And again, her flower spike started to die back, so I cut it at the node that hadn't been used yet. She decided to branch way down here, but she's going to get more flowers. So I'm happy about that. My orchid that I've had the longest, the 2-year orchid, I show this spike almost every video because I'm so stinking proud of it. Rescued her from the brink. She was at death's door, and now she's going to bloom. So I'm very excited about that. This is, excuse me, the orchid that my sister-in-law gave me from her grandmother who passed away. And her spike is going to be extending. I cut her spike before I realized that she could push from the end, so I should have kept it intact, but I went over that in my last video, so you can watch that if you want to know what I'm talking about. But yep, she looks like she's gonna start extending. What else we got here? Oh, this is like my pride and joy. I am so happy about this. Okay, so this is a Shelob Tolkien. I had one in the past. It had fusarium. It died. I got this orchid. I was disappointed when I got it because it was like half the size of the one that I used to have. And I was like, all right, so we're probably looking at like another 2 years for it to bloom. Well, just the other day, I saw a little shadow. Look at that. This is growing very fast. Look at that beautiful spike. This cheers me up more than anything. I mean, this is just, I'm so excited about this. I'm more excited about this than anything else that's going on in my collection. I can't wait to see these flowers. And as you can see, this new growth is so healthy, so happy. Her roots are branching. I mean, she's just loving life right now. I just have the one spike. I have checked the other side to see if there's a spike over here, but there isn't at this time. But I'm happy with anything. I was not expecting blooms on this plant for a couple of years because I thought she was too small to bloom. She only had 3 bulbs and a new, like a tiny little new growth when I got her. So I didn't think she was going to bloom for a really long time. Okay, so let me just move some of these plants over because I just want to show you, other than blooms, I have some pretty interesting stuff going on. So this is the Keiki from my Young Home Sweetie. I did cut her off probably about a month ago because the mother plant had seemed to like kind of stall. Like she didn't seem like she was doing much when all my other Phalaenopsis were. So I thought maybe the Keiki was taking some of her energy. So as soon as her roots were of a length that I could put them down in the water, I cut her off. And she didn't like that so much. This is my first Keiki, so I wasn't really sure, you know, how long I should leave her on the mother plant. But to me, the mother plant was more important than the Keiki, so I did cut her off. She was not happy. Her leaves went limp. Her roots refused to hydrate her for some time. But what I've been doing is I've been putting, instead of just putting regular room temperature water in there, I've been putting slightly more, like tepid, like a little bit warmer. I find that for new roots, they have a resistance to water, except if the water is slightly warm. The warm water has a tendency to get past whatever, you know, prevents the roots from hydrating. So I always use warm water with new roots, and, you know, it does seem to be working. Her leaves have perked back up. So that's good. So we'll see how she does. So this is my Keiki. This plant I thought was really interesting and I wanted to share with you. This is one of my Cattleyas. I got this in that big box. I think it was 10 Cattleyas I got from Carmela's Orchids in Hawaii, and they, you know, they pick the orchids for you. So she came to me and she had a new growth. But next to where the new growth was, there had been another growth that had broken off. I didn't break it off. It kind of came to me that way. This is going to be hard for you to see unless I take it out. So you see that right there? That's a new growth that was broken off when I got it. It's putting out roots. I've never seen a failed new growth put out roots before. Has anyone seen that? Because I haven't. I mean, granted, like I said, I consider myself a beginner. I mean, I've only been growing successfully for about a year, but I've had Cattleyas for a while. I've never seen that. I actually, one of my first Cattleyas, I broke a new growth off while I was unpotting it, and it never did this. So that's pretty cool. And of course, there's those new roots. This is what I love about growing in water culture, growing hydroponically. I'm addicted to roots. I love seeing that. So, yeah, that's that one. And just a brief update on the way I've been growing some of my Cattleyas. I shared with you that I am trying some of my Cattleyas in full water culture. So their roots, the very bottom of their roots, are exposed to water 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it's an experiment, and I told you all, please don't do this. But I wanted to share with you that I was going to be performing this experiment, and I was going to give you updates as we went along. So this is a little update. She looks happy. Her roots are still green. They're not going mushy. You know, just the very tips of them are in water. Most of them are in the air. So there is a lot of airflow, a lot of oxygen. Her roots aren't suffocating. I left a lot of her old roots that aren't healthy on her. I really didn't do much with it. But her new growth has not suffered in the slightest. It actually is ginormous. I mean, it's not done yet. This is the oldest cane. This is the cane that the nursery grew before I got it. Look how big that new growth is compared to it. I mean, huge, absolutely huge, and it's not done yet. And I've had this orchid for probably about 6 months, and you would think that if what I was doing was not making it happy, maybe it would stall, but just the opposite is true. Now, granted, this experiment that I'm doing with the full water culture for this Cattleya has only been about 3 months that I've been doing this, close to 3 months. So I can't definitively say that this, in just 3 months, it's, a definitive result. The jury's still out as to whether this is a good idea or not, but there are no downsides yet. So I'm going to continue to experiment with this plant and see what it does. So I just wanted to give you that update. And then the final thing that I wanted to share with you, I have a vanilla plant that I never really talk about. I got it quite a while ago. I would say 8 to 9 months ago. And I never really talk about it because I had no success with this plant. She originally came, she had 2 branches to her. She was very healthy and I was killing it. I tried a couple of different things. I didn't realize I needed as much shade as they need. Like I had her in quite a sunny spot, found that out the hard way. I have since lost the other branch of her. I had to cut her off because she was dying back. A lot of her roots have died. I had her in my shower and I would just hydrate her in my shower, which she liked. But the problem is my bathroom at night gets cold and I didn't realize how cold until I put, a gauge in there to see. And that almost killed her. So she only has a few healthy original roots remaining. But she is getting new roots. So, and her leaves are wrinkled. She's not as hydrated as I'd like her to be. She's not dead yet though. And I did think for sure, I was gonna kill her. So, that makes me happy. So what did I do differently? So I changed what I was keeping her in. I was just keeping her kind of bare rooted and just, hydrating her every once in a while. And I stopped doing that. What I did is I took one of these microfiber cloths and I just wrapped it around the base of the plant. And I put it in water. So the cloth soaks up water, but it's never like sitting in the water, the base of the plant, so it's never getting like suffocated, I guess you could say. And I mean, she's perking back up, so I think it's working. And the base of the plant, if you can see that root? That was not there, which is hard for the camera to focus because so you see that? That was not there when I had to cut the other branch off. So I wrap it in this cloth and I stick it down in the water and I let the water travel up the cloth to the plant, and it seems to be reversing the ill effects of my failed attempts to grow this plant. This is one of those, I want a vanilla plant and I didn't educate myself before I got it as to what it needed, and then realized after I got it that I don't really have the environment for this type of orchid. And I'm trying to struggle to provide the environment now. I mean, I've tried so many different things with this plant. You would laugh if you knew all the different methods I tried. Finally, I seem to have found something that isn't killing her, actively killing her. So hopefully, you know, this will work out. So anyways, just a few neat things that are happening with my collection and a few blooms that I still have, which I know you guys are probably overly familiar with now and you wish I would stop showing you. But pretty happy, very thrilled. Didn't expect to have any results from my plants this year as far as blooms or spikes or anything like that, because I put these poor things through hell as I was learning what not to do. So I'm pretty excited, and I just figured I'd share it with you. So I hope you all are also having some amazing results with your plants and looking forward to blooms as well. And I will talk to you all next time.